welcome back to Illustrating Failure. So my name is Janie and I am a new illustrator just trying to jump into freelancing. This channel is going to be a documentation of my journey of just trying new things, and potentially falling on my face as I'm trying to survive. Today I'm gonna be going out and trying to do some plein air painting. I've done some plein air before, but obviously I'm not a avid plein air-er. So I'm just gonna go out there. I found some woods on the internet and I'm gonna bring this camera equipment to just try to do a drawing in the woods. And we'll see how it turns out. So I came across this trail in the forest, and it's a pretty nice area during the fall. It's winter now, but it was near the end of fall, right before it got really cold when I filmed this. It was really nice being back in nature after hermiting for so long. My eyes took in a little bit too much nature though, because a bug flew right in and made itself at home. So to start off, I usually try to find somewhere to sit, to paint and stuff. On this particular rock that I found, there was some bird poop that I was trying to wipe off, slash cover with some leaves. And I also have this little pad that I have to carry around, just so it's a little bit softer on my butt when I sit. Some things I brought with me for plein air today is a sketchbook and 2 pieces of watercolor paper. I brought 2 just in case I really mess up on one. And I also brought some washi tape. I like to use the washi tape to tape around my image so that I can block off the edges so it can look a little bit cleaner. Not gonna lie, I was feeling a little self-conscious here because people were walking by because I wasn't too off from the trails. Lol. Next up, I just started doing some practice drawings of some leaves and stuff just to get used to my materials. I brought some watercolor pencil crayons with a water brush pen to this episode of plein airing, just because I wanted to change it up a little bit from other materials that I usually use. A note of a failure here, I forgot to bring paper towels on this journey. Yeah, I just use my fingers instead to blend everything and mix so it doesn't get too watery. But bring paper towels, guys! Ta-da! I think these leaves turned out pretty cute, even if I do say so myself. From here on out, I think I was ready to start sketching some compositions of what I wanted my picture to look like based on my surroundings, and I kind of just drew it on top. Some tips that they teach you in school on how to figure out your composition. It helps if you make a viewfinder with your hands, your thumb and your forefinger together to make a rectangle. But I was just kind of eyeballing it here, I'm pretty relaxed, chill. And after that, I picked my favorite composition. I used a lighter watercolor pencil crayon to start sketching out my composition onto my paper. I may look very calm here, but I was equally as nervous as before, because that fear that some animal will jump out and attack me is very real when I'm out here plein airing, or some kind of person who's not in their right state of mind attacking is also a real fear. So I was pretty jumpy, not gonna lie. Every small noise I was like, ugh. That being said, some safety tips about plein airing. It definitely would be safer to go with a friend or a group of friends. I mean, it's hard now because of COVID. It'd be social distance plein airing. Or don't go when it's really dark at night. First off, you probably can't see anything, and then secondly, there's a higher chance that things might go wrong. You might take a fall or who knows. And then another tip is just, be smart about where you're going. It might seem cool to just go in the absolutely like middle of nowhere. Maybe if you're more experienced in like backpacking, it's okay. But if you're just starting out, stick to somewhere that it's close to trails, close to people that will hear you if you do run into trouble and you yell for help. Not to like have this turn you off from plein airing, but it is good to keep some of these tips in mind, like when you go, just for your own safety. Back to the drawing portion. As you can see, I started using my water pen to start blending out some parts of my watercolor crayon, just to like give it a little bit more of like a dreamy, watery look. I definitely I think it's like with watercolor pencil crayons, I don't use them too often, so this was kind of a new experience for me. It's definitely I've been using like a lot of layering to get the looks I want, and it's honestly been like a long time since I like sat and just drew from life, so it took me like a lot of getting used to things again and remembering how to do certain things. In addition to that, I don't usually draw things from start to finish, just in traditional media anymore. I'm more of like making textures and then collaging them digitally afterwards. So drawing a picture like all at once was a difficult task for me. So here's a little bit of a close-up and the view that I was drawing. And we're back, just adding in some greens and stuff. I think on the most part for this piece, there was a lot of like trial and error to seeing how I like where I put things. And honestly, at this point, I'm looking at it now. I probably could have stopped because it captured the feeling I wanted to do, but I of course decided to go further, and things became like a little bit more muddy the more I worked on it. But that's part of the process, rediscovering your process and how you draw. Adding a little bit of the orange into the tree again because it's like reflecting off of the water. And even though I practiced drawing leaves earlier, which turned out like really well, when it came to the individual leaves in the ground, I don't know why I was having like a rougher time with those. Maybe it's just because it's smaller, or I'm like more tense about it, so it's not giving out the same effect that I want it to. Oh, and the pencil crayons that I'm using is Faber-Castell pencil. They're the Albert Durer watercolor ones, so they are the fancier ones, and they're really nice quality. I'd say, would recommend. Even though I did get the fancier pencil crayons, you don't need anything fancy to go plein air. Honestly, just anything that makes color, like pencil crayons, pieces of paper for collage, that'd be pretty cool for plein air. It's like anything, or even just like a pencil and pad. I feel like it's more about like, you know, taking yourself out there and like just chilling in nature for a little while. So it's been like a few hours at this point. My butt was starting to hurt, so I thought I would start wrapping it up. I wasn't quite satisfied with my progress here, so I took a few pictures and I thought maybe I'd work on it a little bit later. Okay, so I'm home now, and it's been like a few weeks since I actually went out and worked on this. I don't know if you can tell by the state of my nail polish. It's almost gone. But pretty much I'm like not really satisfied with the way that this turned out like in the wild, which like I in a sense like that's kind of like the point, like it's not gonna be perfect, but I kind of just want to like fix it up for myself and just to see if I could push this like a little bit further. I took a picture while I was out painting so that I would have a reference now. So I'm just gonna go off on my phone. It's obviously like not the best. It's not like as good as being there in person, but it'll do. And so this time I have some paper. I should probably use a paper towel, but this piece of toilet paper will be just as well. Otherwise I might go and grab some later. And the same pencil crayons I was working with before. And the water brush pen. So I'm just gonna go ahead and see if there's anything I can do to fix this. I think this part is way too dark. Next, I'm grabbing some white pencil crayon to add some highlights back into the water. There's other ways of doing this, much easier ways, like just taking some water and lifting the paint, but you know, I gotta do things the hard way. Why not? After adding some of the highlights in, I need to add some of the darks in as well. So I have this like dark blue that I'm gonna be using to add in the dark areas. I try not to use black because I feel like, well, black really flattens a picture, so I usually try to avoid it and just use darker shades of brown and blue to make the shadows. When it comes to working, I think I like to do bits and pieces of everything, like adding this orange in or this green in for parts of the picture. So that way, like, I just can work on the whole picture at once instead of like focusing on one area and then be like, oh no, it doesn't match the rest. Like, I definitely sometimes fall into that trap, but it's better when you do everything at once. I think the fun part about using these watercolor pencil crayons is that I can achieve a variety of textures using them. Like I can have the dry textures, or I can like blend them in a little bit together with some water. And you can like kind of go back and forth and like layer it. So I feel like it's kind of like nice that it's so versatile. Up. Haha, at this point, I kind of got a little bit impatient with the process of the watercolor pencil crayon because it's a lot of going back and forth to get those thick colors. So I switched to like real watercolors. I have this palette just full of like watercolors from years, like literally years. Some of these colors have been here since literally high school when I used to take art classes with my friend in my teacher's old basement. Sounds sketchy, but it's very legit. There was a lot of little children there. We had a good time, but that's another story. So I think after like I started using the real watercolor, it just sped up the process a little bit more because I can lay down some colors thicker and stuff. With the watercolors, I started trying a bunch of different things, adding and taking away things, like adding this extra little bit of blend on this end, on the front end, just to like push the water back a little bit. And my colors were getting really muddy, so I decided to just mix everything together and take some of it away with the water to kind of give it a more fresh start. I try to save this area by, mixing it and then adding some like browns for sticks and stuff, but yeah, it wasn't working for me, so I decided to just cover it up and restart from almost scratch with this white paint. And then dabbing it a little bit to get rid of some of that paint on there. I think that decision kind of worked out for me because uh, it made like the background like a little bit more dreamy and uniform. Honestly, my thought at this point, while like taking away all this paint, was like, darn, this is a hot mess. It's so overworked. I don't know how I'm gonna come back from this, but at this point, I'm just gonna keep going. I was like, maybe I'll just leave it and pretend never happened. I'll just show the front footage, and never post this so nobody could see how badly I messed up. But I couldn't turn back anymore, so I had to keep going. And this time around, since there's already color on the ground and like in the background, it was easier to be selective with some of the darks I was choosing to make the shapes of the leaves and the river and stuff. Honestly, this is just all experimentation and trial and error to make this picture. I want to say I have like, a solid process, but I think a big part of my process is just trying things and seeing if it works or not, and then remembering that for next time. And at first I was like, I don't know. It's still kind of like overworked and stuff, but I think I do enjoy the way it turned out in the end. It was a long process to get here, but it worked out in the end. And now it's time for some very satisfying peeling of the tape. Let's go! Ah yeah. Ah yeah. Peel that. Peel the tape. Oh, oh, there goes my paper. Oh, not so satisfying. You didn't see that. Round two, let's go! Oh. Yeah, I have a little bit of a hard time. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in the end, even though it was kind of a hot mess near the end there of getting here and whether it was actually going to turn out or not. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave me a like. And if you have any questions on this process or if there's anything else you want to see me do, just let me know below in the comments. And if you want to see more things like this, or you can check out some of my other videos, my vlogs, remember to subscribe and got videos coming every day except for Sunday. And so yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you guys next time on Illustrating Failure. Bye.